Yeah, my name is Charles Roach. I was born in Shedican in 1948. Locally, I've always been known as Charlie Dan. Um, my early education was in a small rural school in Point Cross, the district of Shedican. After that, I went to the bigger school in the Harbor district with the nuns, the Filles de Jésus, we used to call them. And that's where we got our formation, and they really did a very good job, I think, of preparing us to go to the outside world. Then I went on to study at St. Francis Xavier University. I took a Bachelor of Science degree there and a Bachelor of Education. I came back to my hometown and taught school for 31 years, mostly in the fields of physics and mathematics and a little bit of computer science. And even while I was still teaching, I got an interest in local history and genealogy, which I really got deep into after I retired. I've now been retired from teaching for 12 years. It'll be 12 years this coming June. And I've been at this local history and genealogy business on a serious basis ever since. From the point of view of heritage, one man that is deserving of mention more than anybody else, I think, is Father Anselme Chiasson. As a young man, he realized the importance of keeping our history alive, and already he started taking notes in view of writing a book on the history of Shedican. When Father Aucoin and his associates of La Société Saint-Pierre started thinking about the need for a museum and a building where we could maintain, where we could keep our artifacts and our documents and whatnot, um, they went to DevCo for some financial help. And DevCo sent representatives here. Among them was Anne Terry. She worked for DevCo at the time. And she was a well-known celebrity in Quebec because of her years of CJCB. And I forget the name of the man who was a president of DECO at the time, but anyway, he came, and they had a supper with the executive of La Société Saint-Pierre. Among the discussions was what kind of architecture should they use, and what should be the name of the building. So they discussed several possibilities, and after the supper, they decided they were going to have a sing-song with our old French songs. And one of the songs that they sang was Mon père a fait bâtir maison, que je voulais mettre dans chaque gueudon, l'a fait bâtir à Tropignan. And when the architect heard that at Tropignan, he said, that's the inspiration I need, he says, when the people came back from exile, the style of architecture that was popular in France in those days was the Three Gables, and that's what they decided to name the building, Les Tropignan, which translates as the Three Gables. Same Father Anselme Chiasson and his cousin, Father Daniel Boudreau, they were both Capuchin priests. Together they recorded over 560 of our folk songs. And not too many years ago, we got Father Daniel Boudreau to come here to Shedican and record those songs a cappella. We figured if he could do 100 or so of them, then we'd be doing pretty good. He ended up doing all 560 something, and now we have them recorded in digital form, and that's going to be preserved for years to come for sure. And our genealogy office is something that we're very proud of as well. But by estimation, we figure we have over 200,000 fish of people from Shedican or descendants of people of Shedican. In those records we have their full name, date of birth, date of baptism, marriage, who they married, who the person they married was the son or daughter of, date of demise, place of burial, date of burial, and on the back all the children that they had and the dates of birth. And then for every child we have their own fish. It's becoming a source of attraction to the area for people that live all over the States and Canada, and even some in Europe. People who have roots in Shedican and are coming back to discover those roots. My background in science and mathematics gave me a logic which is very useful in genealogical research. It's very much like a criminal investigation without the crime. In 2004, I published a book on the history and the genealogy of the Aucoin family. And there's several reasons why I chose the Aucoin family. My name, of course, is Roach, which seems to have nothing to do with Aucoin, but in fact it does. My ancestor, Syriac Roach, was adopted in Pictou, Nova Scotia by Joseph Aucoin and his wife, Marie Hébert. And they brought him here as a baby of 2 years old. He grew up in Shedikan because of those special circumstances. He normally would have grown up in Pictou. To this day, we still don't know who his parents were. Um, all that tradition has given us is that he was adopted in Pictou at the age of 2, that he was of Irish origin. His parents were from Ireland, and he himself was apparently born in Pictou. We haven't been able to find any trace of brothers or sisters or anything like that. Yet tradition has always maintained that he was the last born of a large and numerous and poor family. And, and that's why one of the reasons why Modou, as we called him, Modou Aucoin, and his wife adopted the child as a charity. But to me, that doesn't hold water. It seems to me there's more to the story than we meet on the surface. Why would they have chosen to adopt an Irish boy in Pictou? They could have done the same charity locally. There must have been abandoned children here that they could have adopted. So I'm convinced that the mother of that child was an Acadian closely related to either Modou or his wife. And I suspect there was illegitimacy involved, and that's why everything was kept hush hush. In those days, it was considered a shame. Nowadays, people have much broader minds, and they accept those things as, I guess, quite normal. Anyway, he came to Shedikan as a young boy, grew up here. The girl that he eventually ended up marrying, Rosalie Joseph Arnois, also has quite a unique story. uh, when our people came back from exile, they settled mostly on PEI, and a lot of them settled in the Arashat area. And during the American War, independence, because Nova Scotia was an English colony, it was an enemy territory for the revolting colonies, and American privateers would take advantage of the opportunity to come and do raids in the area. So, when they came and raided Arashat, the Robins, for the sake of protection, took whatever they could mobilize of their establishment and moved to their headquarters in Pespebiac in the Gaspé Peninsula. And the Acadians, for security's sake, followed them there. One of the families that was involved in that was the Godet family. And Ursule Godet, the daughter of Joseph Godet and Anne Richard, while they were in the Gaspé Peninsula, met a man by the name of Charles Guillaume Arnois that she married, and they had this little girl called Rosalie Joseph Arnois, born in Bonaventure, Quebec. And when peace was restored, when the threats were no longer there, the Robins came back to Arashat, and the Acadians followed them there. And in the meantime, Ursule lost her husband, either through natural causes or in some conflict of some kind, we don't know. But she came back as a widow, and there was no such thing as widow's pensions in those days, so she had to follow her Godet family to be supported. And of course, she brought her little girl with her. From Arashat, the Godet were part of the people that came here to settle the community in 1785. So naturally, Ursule Godet and her little girl followed the Godet family to Shedikan. So a little girl who should have grown up in the Gaspé Peninsula and a little boy who should have grown up in Pictou ended up being raised in Shedikan. In their teen years, they fell in love, they got married, and they had 13 children, and that gave rise to the Roach clan of Shedikan. That's why we're here today. So we've always had a special gratitude to Joseph Aucoin for having adopted our ancestor. So I had a depth of thanks to pay back. So that was one of the motivating factors to make me publish the history of the Aucoin family. The other reason is that the research had been started and well undergone by Father Aucoin before he died. So I felt that his work should be completed and published to make his work known.